I want everybody from this moment on to recognize me as the scholar of boxing.
That's it, Tim. The ropes when he got hit with the beautiful shot back and forth. That's the right. Man, leans back and forth with a right hook.
Most people don't know shit about boxing at all.
Did you get what you were looking for?
Zhang has really fast and short combination. He has a great teacher. They formulated a good game plan coming in. Listen to Joyce's game plan versus his game plan coming into the fight.
So is it going to be a similar approach that the one you had with Daniel Dubois?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more educated, but it's tough because he's a southpaw as well, so it's going to be tricky, and I might have to eat some shots, but mate, I don't really want to. It's going to be exciting, and he's probably going to test my chin, but you know, I'm going to test his chin. I'm going to be throwing back and firing back as usual, throwing lots of punches and soaking up punishment as I do so. But yes, that's what makes us fights exciting.
Was that the game plan tonight, to break him up with the left hand?
今天这个后手打得好，这是计划当中的吗？
Yes.
So Joyce's game plan was to accept a ton of punishment and win the fight, while Zhang's was to set up that left hand. And look who was more effective with their strategy. Right here, Zhang touches Joyce's lead hand, and then now he comes over the top and puts his glove in Joyce's face to block his vision, and then he turns it into a right hook and then straight left hand down the middle. So he was knocking him off balance, blinding him, and just keeping him off balance the entire fight. He even throws a straight left to the chest to knock him off balance even further and put him out of position. Then he throws a right hook, but that right hook is to get him in the distance because he take a hard step, and Joyce almost trips over his foot because he's still off balance from the straight left to the body. And then he throws a straight left on an angle and then right hook after that. Like I said, he just kept Joyce off balance because Joyce's game plan was to accept punishment and wear him down. Right here, he throws a jab and Joyce parries the jab. He grabs that jab and pulls Joyce's lead hand down and then turns it into a jab that blinds Joyce coming in. And now he's gonna throw a left hand to the body followed by a right hook to the head while he still has him off balance and confused. And he was always one step ahead of Joyce. See how the punch knocks him back? And then he goes right back to pawing jabs with him to measure him, and then he lands the straight left down the middle. Like I said, Zhang was just superior, and this pace favored Zhang. Right here, he touches up top, stabs him to the chest, and does something Joyce does not often do, back him up, because he's confused. And now that he's backed up, what is Zhang gonna do? He's gonna land a sneaky left hand. Didn't telegraph it or nothing, and he knocked Joyce off balance with that, even though it hit him on the gloves. Now that Joyce is confused, he's gonna back up, something he's not used to doing. Zhang touches with his right hand, draws his attention there, pushes him back even further to the ropes, and then he hunts him and then throws a straight left to the body, and then comes up with the right hook over the top. Like I said, he was just always one step ahead of Joyce, backing him up, confusing him, just beating him up, beating him to the punch and controlling his lead left hand. Even when he missed, like right here, he would paw and push it down. The pace just favored Zhang. You could not beat Zhang fighting at this pace. Right here, Joyce tries to land a left hook over the top, and Zhang just catches it and pushes off of him and creates separation. So now he has to go back out and try to figure it out all over again. He made Joyce become a boxer, something that he's not good at, by controlling the distance with the right hand. Right here, he throws it to Joyce's right hand just to keep it preoccupied so he won't use it. Little smart, subtle things like that was the difference in the fight. And then Joyce tries to return with his jab. He blocks it and then creates the separation and space that he needs because Joyce is slow. Then he blocks it again with his forearm, the jab. If the jab can't land, no other punch can land. And it forces Joyce to leap and lunge in like right here. Right there, he hops in with a hook and Zhang goes to block it. Zhang is onto his timing and he knows that he can't get to him. So now he makes him pay for pawing. He goes to paw, and then Zhang just comes over the top of his pawing jab and catches him with a right hook. Now comes the straight left to knock him off balance and possibly stop him. See, knocked him out of position. And Zhang, being a veteran he is, he smells blood and he goes on the attack. He comes in and throws another jab straight left, and then since he smothered the punch, Zhang just puts his right hand on his head and pushes him back. Watch here, Zhang puts his lead hand on the top of his guard and at the top of his head, and he just steers him slightly and steers him to the ropes, and then pushes his face where his vision is and pushes him back to the ropes, and then shoots the left hand. Like I said, it was just control. Control is why Zhang won this fight, and the pace of it. He made Joe Joyce fight at a pace that he's not familiar fighting, and he made something Joe Joyce has never been forced to do, which is use his head. And Zhang is a way better fighter using his head and fighting from that range than Joe Joyce. Right here, he puts the jab back in his face, and Joe Joyce can't reach with the leaping left hook, and then he just puts it up there and checks him again and makes him go back a step again and control the pace of the fight with just his lead hand. And then he sticks his lead hand right there, and this time he shoots it through and catches Joe Joyce in the face, and Joe Joyce takes another step back. Now Zhang can charge him for real estate. He leaps in with the left hook. Zhang just slides his elbow down and catches it with his right hand, and then shoots the right hand over the top of Joe Joyce while pivoting, and then he finishes up with the straight left to keep him off balance, like I said. And then he pushes him back to the rope at a better distance to land that straight left. And now that he has it, he puts the right hand through the guard and then straight left down the center and catches and clips Joe Joyce. That was a short shot, and it was very fast and accurate. And Zhang establishes distance again. He touches right here and takes a small step back so he could charge him and set a trap. Little tiny step, and then when Joe Joyce takes the bait, he touches again, and then he stabs him down to the body to slow down his momentum. Like I said, always one step ahead. Joe Joyce swings a wild left hook, nowhere in the vicinity to be caught by that punch, and Zhang just shrugs his shoulders like, come on. And then he steps in with the high guard right here and smothers this straight right hand by Joe Joyce, using a forearm parry with his left hand and having outside foot dominance. And then he puts his hand on his head to get a sense of what Joe Joyce is, and Joe Joyce tries to take a step back and throw the body shot, but he just blocks it with his elbows and pushes Joe Joyce back. Because he's a veteran, he knows how to rest in the inside and the pace of the fight. He just blocks this shot with his right hand and takes a step and still establishing outside foot dominance, and then he just starts using the high guard, blocking all of Joe Joyce's shots. Right there, he parried his shot. Zhang was so comfortable with the pace of this fight that he was able to be relaxed enough to catch Joe Joyce's left hook with his right hand, and then land a counter left uppercut to his body. Joe Joyce was never going to win a fight where he had to outthink Zhang. That was in Zhang's territory. He throws shorter punches, faster punches, and he's better at thinking and controlling range. Right here, he places his head at the top of Joe Joyce's head and then lands a right hook when he tries to blitz him inside. And then when Joe Joyce tries to blitz him again, what does he do? He puts that hand on his shoulder to get an idea where he is and control range, and then just pulls out of range. He's nowhere to be found for the return fire. When Joe Joyce follows him, he just beats him to the spot and charges him for real estate again, lands a straight left down the middle and then right hook over the top of that, and then now backs him up. After Zhang got Joe Joyce to just follow him around the ring, he just started beating him to a spot and charging him real estate because he was so slow. But look at the graphics I put together with the illustration of Zhang saying he was slow, and it's perfectly pieced. Listen.
When you looked at Joe Joyce's style, did you know you could create angles for the left hand?
看他的技术的时候，你觉得可以让角度来有人左手，让你的后手有机会吗？
Yes, he's too strong. I see.
The lead hand was the key in the victory. Right here, he throws the right hand to Joe Joyce's right hand to keep him preoccupied. Joe Joyce leaps in and he just extends his jab hand, his right hand, and catches the left hook on his shoulders. It's a beautiful move. And after he did that, he puts his hand on Joe Joyce's outside shoulder, just control him a tad bit, and then he lands the straight left over the top. Like I said, Zhang was doing beautiful moves throughout the entire fight, and it was the subtle things you might have not noticed, like moving his arm up slightly to block the jab, being calm and relaxed enough to move his left hand down to block Joe Joyce's right hook to the body. Normally the left hook follows, but Joe Joyce tries to get smart and push him off balance with his lead hand and shoot the jab through the middle to block Zhang's vision. Now he's going to try to the left hook to the body, and Zhang still blocks it on the elbows. Like I said, subtle things in boxing is the key to victory and defeat. And then Zhang just steps to him with the high guard, discouraging him, backing him up, blocking his shots. He throws his right there up to block the right hook, and then Joe Joyce throws right hand. He catches it on the gloves and then shoots the straight right back down the center. Always kept him off balance by being one step ahead of Joe Joyce. And now that he has him off balance, he's going to shoot the straight left down the middle again, and then he's going to land a right hook while Joe Joyce is throwing the left hook. and catch him in between the shots and knock him off balance. Like I said, it was the subtle things. In the inside where Joe Joyce makes his living, what does Zhang do? He throws a short uppercut to the body to knock him off balance. And the left hook that Joe Joyce throws misses because he's off balance. Then Zhang answers over the top with the right hook to the head, and then he's gonna throw the right hook to the head. He wants to hit him, of course, but even if the punch doesn't land, the force of the blow and the shortness of it was enough to knock Joe Joyce off balance. And Joe Joyce has to pivot around and be set. And look, Zhang's already set and ready to shoot his shots. And that was the difference. He kept Joe Joyce off balance all night with the short shots, throwing punches in between his, and he was able to control him with his lead hand. And he had a real game plan coming into this fight. This was a dangerous fight for Joe Joyce. And even though the referee stopped the fight, did you notice that Joe Joyce did not complain about the stoppage because Zhang was beating the shit out of him? Look at that left hand that he landed straight down the middle. Just beautiful. It was poetry in motion. And Zhang ended up getting the victory, and he was deserving of it. But anyway, it's the Boxer Scholar, and I'm out.